I've been there standing at the edge of something amazing, feeling a rush of excitement, yet somehow unable to take that final step forward. Maybe you've been there too. That moment when the future feels close enough to touch, but your feet refuse to move. It's like reaching the finish line only to stop inches away. I tell myself I'm just being cautious, that it's not the right time. You probably know that voice too, the one that sounds reasonable, but deep down, it's fear. What I was really avoiding wasn't the opportunity itself, it was the change that came with it. The fear of success is subtle, quiet, but it's real. Success doesn't just give, it takes. It asks for responsibility, for growth, for transformation. And sometimes, that transformation feels like losing who we were. You and I both know the fear of failure is easy to see, but the fear of success hides behind logic, disguised as not ready yet. It's the fear of stepping into a version of ourselves we've never met before. For the longest time, I thought I was just procrastinating. I told myself I needed more time, more preparation, more proof. But research shows that self-sabotage isn't laziness, it's fear. According to a study published by the National Institutes of Health, self-sabotage often happens when we're afraid of what success might bring. The exposure, the expectations, the pressure to live up to something new. It's not just fear of failing, it's fear of what happens if we don't. Because success changes things, and deep down, you and I both know that change can feel like risk, even when it's the best thing waiting for us. I remember thinking back to moments when I was so close to achieving something important. A job promotion, a breakthrough in a creative project, or finally allowing myself to be loved. Right before these moments, a part of me would pull back. It wasn't because I didn't want success. It was because I was terrified of the unknown. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff. You know you're capable of jumping, but the unknown below feels intimidating, so you stay stuck, frozen, too scared to take the leap. This fear often masquerades as procrastination, perfectionism, or avoidance. For years, I told myself I just needed to wait for the right moment, or that I wasn't ready yet. But this is all a form of self-sabotage, a mechanism to protect ourselves from change. A study by Dr. Ellen Hendrickson found that when people have experienced emotional or psychological trauma, their brains actually crave the familiarity of their past experiences, even if those experiences are unhealthy. The fear of success of change becomes a defense mechanism, rooted in the deep fear that stepping into the unknown will shatter their sense of safety. What many of us don't realize is that success is not the real danger. The danger is what success represents, a change in who we are and what we know. The brain prefers predictability, even if it means sticking to old habits that no longer serve us. Self-sabotage shows up in many ways. Perfectionism, procrastination, overthinking, and people-pleasing are just a few examples. These behaviors keep us stuck in a cycle of fear and self-doubt, holding us back from the success and happiness we desire. But here's the truth. Once we understand these patterns, we can begin to unravel them. Recognizing self-sabotage isn't about blaming ourselves for our struggles. It's about understanding why we behave this way and starting to take small, intentional steps to break the cycle. By doing so, we give ourselves permission to evolve into the person we've always been capable of becoming. It's strange, isn't it? You and I have both been there, so close to something we've wanted for so long, only to pull back at the last moment. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, watching the horizon glow with possibility, yet being unable to take that final step forward. My heart races, my hands tighten, and every logical part of me whispers, "Not yet." You know that feeling too, don't you? The one that convinces you it's safer to stay still than to risk falling. For the longest time, I thought this hesitation meant I was lazy, unmotivated, or afraid of failure. But that wasn't the truth. What I was really afraid of wasn't failure at all. It was success. The kind of success that asks you to grow, to let go, to change. The kind that requires you to become someone you've never been before. Success doesn't just reward us. It transforms us. It asks us to leave behind the version of ourselves that's familiar, the version that knows how to survive disappointment and rejection. And even though that old version might be unhappy, it feels safe. The unknown never does. Psychologists call this success anxiety, a subconscious resistance to growth that stems from the fear of what comes after achievement. I felt it in moments that should have been joyful. Before a job interview I was qualified for, when someone genuinely cared about me, when a dream opportunity was within reach. Every time I found myself stepping back, doubting, overthinking. It wasn't that I didn't want those things, I just didn't believe I was ready to handle what came next. Research backs this up. A study published by the National Institutes of Health found that self-sabotage often occurs when our brain perceives success as a threat rather than a reward. Especially for those who have experienced emotional or psychological wounds, the mind equates safety with familiarity. Even if that familiarity is pain, chaos, or mediocrity, it feels predictable and therefore safe. That's why we sometimes destroy the very things we say we want. It's not because we're broken, it's because our brains are trying to protect us from uncertainty. Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, a clinical psychologist, describes this as the comfort of the known struggle. She explains that many people, especially those who grew up with conditional love or unstable environments, unconsciously associate success with danger, with exposure, pressure, or even loss. So, the brain clings to what it knows. The self-doubt, the hesitation, the endless waiting for the right time. In a strange way, self-sabotage becomes our form of control. It's our way of saying, if I ruin it first, at least it won't hurt as much when it's gone. But here's what I've learned. That discomfort you feel when success is near, that tightening in your chest, that whisper of I can't do this, it isn't a warning sign to stop. It's a sign of growth. It's proof that you're stepping beyond the limits of who you used to be. The fear doesn't mean you're unworthy. It means you're expanding. The real work isn't about eliminating fear. It's about understanding it, sitting with it, looking it in the eye and saying, I see you, but I'm moving forward anyway. Because success isn't the enemy, resistance is. And the moment you recognize that your fear is just an old pattern trying to keep you safe, you start to take back your power. So when you feel that pull, when you're on the verge of something new and the urge to retreat rises, pause. Take a breath. Remember, you're not sabotaging because you can't handle success. You're just learning to trust that you finally can. Self-sabotage is something we all deal with at some point. It's that feeling when you're just about to reach a goal, but somehow you find a way to stop yourself. It's not laziness, and it's not because we don't want to succeed. Often, it's because our minds are wired in a way that holds us back. We may feel safer in failure or chaos because it's familiar. Let's dive into the 7 hidden ways we sabotage our own success and how we can begin to change these patterns. 1. Perfectionism. Perfectionism can seem like a positive trait, but it often keeps us stuck. We set incredibly high standards for ourselves, and when we inevitably fall short, we freeze. Dr. Timothy A. Pychel's research shows that perfectionism leads to procrastination and avoidance because we're afraid of not meeting the mark. The key is to stop waiting for perfection and embrace progress over flawlessness. 2. Fear of success. Success is often accompanied by new challenges and responsibilities, which can feel overwhelming. Research by psychologist Albert Bandura reveals that people sometimes fear success because it means stepping into the unknown. The fear of success can cause self-sabotage as we shy away from opportunities that require us to grow and change. 3. Negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is like a constant inner critic telling us we're not good enough. Dr. Kristin Neff's studies on self-compassion show that this negative voice can lower our self-esteem and make us more likely to give up. Shifting the narrative from criticism to kindness allows us to silence that voice and build resilience. 4. Procrastination. Procrastination often feels like a lack of motivation, but it's usually rooted in fear of failure. According to Dr. Tim Pitchell's research, procrastination is actually an emotional coping strategy, a way to avoid feeling the discomfort of failure. Instead of putting things off, try breaking tasks into smaller steps and focusing on the next action, not the entire project. 5. Overthinking. Overthinking paralyzes us with indecision. Dr. Edward F. Diener's studies highlight that overthinking leads to anxiety and inaction. When we spend too much time analyzing, we miss the opportunity to act. The solution is simple: take small, deliberate actions and learn from them instead of overanalyzing every possible outcome. 6. People-pleasing. People-pleasing is often a response to the fear of rejection. Dr. Beverly Engel's work explains how constantly trying to please others leads to burnout and neglecting your own needs. To break this pattern, we need to set boundaries and prioritize our own well-being, knowing that we're worthy of love and respect without sacrificing ourselves. 7. Imposter Syndrome. Imposter syndrome convinces us that we don't deserve our success. Research shows that imposter syndrome is common among high achievers and stems from low self-esteem. Acknowledging our achievements and realizing we belong where we are helps us overcome the fear of being found out as a fraud. Self-sabotage isn't about lacking ability or willpower. It's about fear and learned behaviors that hold us back from achieving what we deserve. The key to breaking free from these patterns is awareness. Once we recognize these behaviors, we can start to challenge them, practice self-compassion, and take small steps toward healing. Success isn't about perfection, it's about growth, and you have the power to rewrite the story of your life starting today. While self-sabotage might look like procrastination or fear of success on the surface, its roots run much deeper. Often these behaviors are tied to unresolved emotional wounds, fear, shame, and insecurity that we've been carrying with us for years. Research by Dr. John Bowlby on attachment theory explains that the way we were treated as children, particularly by our caregivers, shapes how we view ourselves and the world. If we grew up in an environment where love felt conditional or success was punished, we may have developed an unconscious belief that we don't deserve happiness or success. The emotional toll of self-sabotage can be significant. It's easy to get trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and frustration, where the desire for success clashes with an inner belief that we're not worthy of it. Dr. Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion highlights how people who struggle with self-sabotage often lack self-compassion and self-acceptance. This lack of self-love makes us more susceptible to behaviors that undermine our progress because, on some level, we don't believe we're worthy of the success we desire. Breaking free from self-sabotage requires understanding that these behaviors are defense mechanisms. We're not choosing to hurt ourselves on purpose, we're simply trying to protect ourselves from the emotional pain we've experienced in the past. As Dr. Brené Brown points out in her research on shame and vulnerability, we cannot selectively numb emotions, This means that when we avoid success or self-expression out of fear, we also block ourselves from feeling true joy and fulfillment. The path to healing begins by acknowledging the emotional wounds that fuel self-sabotage. By practicing self-compassion and allowing ourselves to feel the full range of emotions, both the painful and the joyful, we can begin to unravel the cycle of sabotage and step into a more authentic version of ourselves. Breaking free from self-sabotage isn't easy, but it's absolutely possible. The first step in the journey toward healing is recognizing the patterns that have been controlling us for so long. When we can name what's happening, when we can identify self-sabotaging behaviors for what they are, we take the first step toward regaining control over our lives. Dr. Tara Brach, a psychologist and mindfulness expert, often talks about the power of awareness and mindfulness in her work. She explains awareness is the first step in healing. The moment we see our patterns with kindness, we begin to loosen their grip. So, the next time you catch yourself procrastinating or avoiding something important, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Recognize that you're not failing. Instead, you're facing an old protective habit that no longer serves you. In fact, by practicing this moment of awareness, you're already breaking the cycle. As neuroscientist Dr. Rick Hansen says, what you pay attention to grows, which means that shifting your focus toward awareness, rather than judgment or shame, can help change the underlying patterns over time. Another critical step in breaking free from self-sabotage is practicing self-compassion. If you've spent years doubting your worth or punishing yourself for past mistakes, it's essential to start replacing that harsh inner voice with a kinder one. Dr. Kristin Neff, a pioneer in the field of self-compassion, shows that being kind to ourselves isn't just a nice thing to do. It has real, tangible benefit. Research has shown that people who practice self-compassion have lower levels of anxiety and depression and are more resilient in the face of challenges. Start by treating yourself like you would treat a good friend. When you mess up or fall short of your goals, instead of criticizing yourself, offer words of comfort. Say things like, "It's okay. I'm learning. This doesn't define me." This approach not only boosts your emotional well-being, but also reduces the power of the self-sabotage cycle. It's also important to take small, realistic steps toward confronting your fears and goals. Often, self-sabotage thrives because we set ourselves up for failure by setting overly ambitious goals or trying to make massive changes all at once. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire life, focus on one small, manageable step at a time. Start with goals that feel achievable, and as you succeed, gradually increase the challenge. According to the small wins theory, coined by psychologist Carl Weick, achieving small victories can snowball, building momentum and confidence for bigger successes. Finally, embrace mindfulness and mindfulness-based practices. Meditation, breathing exercises, and journaling are all tools that can help you observe your thoughts and feelings without getting lost in them. Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, a pioneer in mindfulness research, explains that mindfulness helps us step out of automatic patterns and into a space of conscious choice. By learning to observe without judgment, we gain the power to make different decisions and ultimately change our behavior. Studies have shown that mindfulness practices reduce the likelihood of self-sabotage by improving emotional regulation and increasing our capacity for self-reflection. The journey to healing from self-sabotage may not be linear and it may not always feel easy, but by taking these steps, awareness, self-compassion, small wins, and mindfulness, you can gradually shift your habits and break free from the patterns that have held you back. This isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself every day, one small step at a time, and learning to trust that you are worthy of the success and happiness you've always desired. Breaking the cycle of self-sabotage isn't about chasing perfection, it's about awareness. It's learning to recognize the moments when old habits quietly pull us back and choosing to respond differently. This is where mindfulness becomes powerful, not as a trend, but as a tool for healing and transformation. Mindfulness simply means paying attention to what's happening in the present moment, your thoughts, your body, your emotions without judgment. It's not about forcing calm or pushing thoughts away. It's about noticing. Imagine you're about to procrastinate on something important. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause. You take a breath. You ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Maybe it's fear of failure, or maybe it's the pressure of wanting to do everything perfectly. That single moment of awareness creates space, a small pause where choice becomes possible. Science backs this up. A study by Dr. Richard Davidson, a neuroscientist at the University of Wisconsin, found that mindfulness strengthens the brain regions linked to emotional regulation and self-awareness. This means mindfulness doesn't just calm the mind, it changes how we relate to our thoughts. Over time, it rewires the brain to respond with clarity instead of fear. So the next time you catch yourself slipping into self-sabotage, whether it's overthinking, procrastinating, or doubting your worth, pause. Take one mindful breath. Notice what's happening inside you. You don't need to fix it or fight it, just see it. That's where healing begins, not in perfection, but in presence. Because every moment you choose awareness over autopilot, you're teaching your mind that peace is safe. And progress doesn't have to come from pressure. Breaking free from self-sabotage is a journey, but each step you take towards awareness, compassion, and mindfulness brings you closer to the life you deserve. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about showing up for yourself, one small shift at a time. If you've recognized patterns in your life that you want to change, take that first step today. Let me know in the comments what action you'll take to begin breaking the cycle of self-sabotage. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on healing and personal growth.